Welcome to the Christian Woman Leadership Podcast, where we hope to inspire you to embrace your God-given gifts, skills, and passions in order to lead with confidence. We want you to remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, and you are fully loved by Him.
You have been designed on purpose by God with unique gifts and passions in order to love and lead those around you. I'm your host, Esther Littlefield.
And I'm Esther's co-host, Holly Kane.
Together, we chat about important issues that Christian women leaders face. In addition, we interview other women just like you who lead in various roles, from church to community to business. Through this podcast, we offer you encouragement, tools, and resources to help you on your leadership journey. We are so glad you're here with us. Hey, friend, and welcome to episode 231 of the podcast. I am here today with Holly, and we are going to be sharing a little bit of a life update with you because it's been a little while since
It's been
Holly
a hot
and I,
minute.
yeah, since we really sat down and did a full episode together. And so we shared with you in January, we did a mini series all about goal setting. So we hope that you listened to that and enjoyed that. But today we're just going to give you an update on where we're at, what's going on in our lives, because since we started this podcast, 5.5 years ago, Holly?
Oh my gosh.
I believe.
Are you sure we're not at 6 at this point?
Well,
No,
it'll
that
be
can't
6
be right.
in July. So
Okay,
it'll be
okay.
6 years in
Okay.
July. So we're at 5.5 right now.
Yeah.
But a lot has changed in our lives and in
A
our
lot has changed.
circumstances, in the way our leadership looks, in the way that we view a lot of things. So there's just a lot. And we're not going to update you on 5.5 years. I promise.
I was just going to say that. We're only going to talk about the past year.
Yes, right.
Because prior to this week of our little mini series, it's been a good while since we recorded a new episode, just me and you. So
right. Yes.
Yeah.
And normally we do kind of a reflection episode at the end of each year where we sort of talk through a few updates. And we didn't do that at the end of 2023 because hashtag 2023
life
was ridiculous. So
I like that hashtag.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick it off. We're going to talk a little bit about just where we are, what's going on with our families, a little bit about our work life, and kind of also about what our leadership roles do or do not look like.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a little bit of reflection because we did share with you in our mini series about the fact that before setting goals, it's a good idea to reflect. And so we thought we would just come on and share a little bit of our own reflections on kind of where things are at from this past year. So you want to kick us off, Holly?
I have a question. I have a question before we start. Have you set goals for this year?
Loosely?
Okay.
Loosely. Yeah.
I have 0 goals.
Okay. Yeah. So you have done part of our mini series, but not all the way to the last 2 steps.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. Yeah. So I had to talk about the very last step, which you can talk about in theory, right? Which is essentially what I did. I know how to do it. Doesn't mean I did it.
Right. Let me say this about my goals. I was thinking about it after I recorded that episode because I recorded the episode about goals.
Yes.
And I realized that right now, all of my goals are habit goals. They're not project goals. So
that's okay.
That kind of was a good aha moment for me where it was okay, everything right now that I'm putting down as far as a goal is not a big, I'm going to accomplish this big thing this year. It's more I'm going to keep doing the things that I know I need to do to stay healthy and to heal and just
you're a genius.
The habits that
seriously.
So you could have a few of those maybe if you wanted to.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do have one goal.
Okay.
But I'll share that. Okay. I have that written down at the end. Okay, good. So anyway.
All right. Well, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about where you're at with your family and kind of life situation.
Yeah. So I'm sure I mentioned it in an episode prior, but it's been a while. So we now live in Alabama. We moved from Florida and we've been here about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. It's crazy to think that we've almost been in our home 2 years, but
Yeah.
Zach is still working from home, still figuring that out. I gave up my office with a door for him
That was very
recently.
generous of you.
We talked about it for a long time. He really wasn't sure. So
Yeah.
Eli is still in school. He's loving welding and video production, and he works at Chick-fil-A now. So he's slinging the
Mm.
Lord's chicken and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He
Oh,
really loves to work. So this is a good fit for him. And he's getting to know other people outside of school
yeah.
and yeah, learning to work with the public, which I think is a good thing.
Fun times.
Yeah. So, but we're still trying to figure out how we fit into our community and how life is going to look for the
Yeah.
next at least minimum 2 years, 2.5 years, because we're
Yeah.
definitely going to stay here through Eli's school, through high school, depending on where he goes for college, we'll figure all that out. But I just had a little like stab to the heart when I said college. So we're just not
Mm.
going to talk about that right
Yeah.
now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that's geographically and family wise where we are.
Yeah. That's our first category, family /
Yes.
geography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about where you are.
Yeah. Well, again, like you shared, I've probably shared this on the podcast before, but if you're new around here and maybe you've listened to some of the older episodes and you haven't heard more recently, our family moved from Maine to Tennessee in May. So I actually
Woohoo!
came down in May. Yeah, Holly's happy because now we are only 2 hours apart instead of
Yeah.
like a lot of
20,
hours. Yeah.
21 when we lived in
Yeah.
Alabama and 24 when we were in
Yeah.
Florida.
Right, which we never really drove to visit each other.
No, I did. I drove.
Well, but you didn't just visit me. You came
You
to
were the
visit.
only reason I came home, Master.
Oh, I had to vie for your time when you came home. And anyway, so yeah, we moved in May and Kirsten started high school in a new school here in the area in August. So that's a new adventure for us. She's a year behind Eli in school. And as far as Scott, so he is going back to school currently. And he's also like basically we're in a seeking God for what is next kind of season. That's the positive spin on it. And just really trying to discern what's going to be his next season of life after being a pastor for 17 years. So that's where we are geographically and family wise.
Lots of big changes.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yes.
as we move into our next category,
Yeah.
the changes don't stop.
No, they just keep on coming.
So we're going to talk about business / work. We've had a lot of different changes there. Do you want to tell us your update?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I do want to just mention, I feel like we didn't really explain this at the beginning. But part of the reason we're sharing this with you guys is because like if you're a listener to this podcast and you're hearing Holly and I share about leadership or share about, just different tips or wisdom or advice that we're giving, which we always give with a lot of grains of salt. Uh but like I think it's helpful to know where that's coming from and just being able to understand the context that someone is in when you're listening to a podcast. Or sometimes I hear people on the radio. I almost said radio on a podcast.
How old are you?
And I know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, like how can you tell me about XYZ? So that's part of our rationale for sharing this update. So I just wanted to mention that. So for business / work, a big part of our move to Tennessee is related to this. So in May, I started working full time at Ramsey Solutions, which is in Franklin, Tennessee, as a senior content marketer. So one of the changes with this, obviously, it's a huge shift from running my business and having complete flexibility on my schedule is that I actually have enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I was excited about the job, specifically about the type of work I was going to be doing, but I was kind of skeptical about what I was going to feel in regards to the whole going to the office every day and being around other people and all of that. But I have enjoyed it, and it's been a really good experience. But it is a big shift in my lifestyle and our family's schedule. So, just as an example, I leave the house typically every day around 7 a.m. And a lot of days I don't get home until close to 6. So, it's a long day between the driving and dropping Kirsten off at school and, all of that. So, that's a big change for me. And then the other big change is really related to my business. And so, uh, I have shared before that I have a mentor mind, uplift mentor mind that I have run for many years. Um, well, it was, 3 years. I ran that program for 3 years, and
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna continue it just because of the way I had structured it. It was a
Mm.
flexible program that allowed me to serve the women in that group, um, without a huge amount of time that I had to do things. It was more, support on calls and things like that. But I did decide to end that program at the end of 2023, and a big reason for that was because I didn't have the capacity to keep it going and continue to market it. It was kinda like I probably could have kept
Mm.
it going, but then I also needed to keep growing it to make it
Yeah.
valuable for the whole group. And between working full time and all of the transition with my family and just recognizing, like, through, a lot of therapy and through prayer and through conversations with Scott and with other people, I recognized that I needed some time to not be doing that, not to
Yeah.
be to I just needed to be able to go to work and then leave work at work and not continue to have more work outside of work. And
Yeah.
so that was a really hard decision, but I did do that. And then I also ended services with my last podcast management client. I had kept that going for a few years as well.
Mhm.
So my business is not technically like officially closed because I do still have my courses and my resources out there. I still have some operating expenses that I have to pay,
Yeah.
but I don't have anything that is currently requiring my time that I'm needing to put out and, work with people and provide deliverables or provide support to clients at this time. So
Yeah.
that's my work and business update.
All right. Well, I will give my business update. So, if you don't know, I own my own business as a chief financial officer. And I also did some director of operations work as well. And I had that business for, my goodness, uh, 6 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that I closed that business the end of January. So at
Yeah.
this point, we're talking like a week out.
A week ago. A week ago.
A week ago,
It's
closed
pretty
my
fresh.
business. So yes, it's very fresh. So I said goodbye to some clients that I've had for about 4 or 5 years, people that I have who are friends and feel like family
Mhm.
and who I've poured blood, sweat, and tears into their businesses. And you know, that's hard, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so I'm still kind of working through tying up loose ends and making sure that there's no sort of residual questions. But I needed something different. And we'll kind of talk about that maybe when we get to like the reflection questions. But I needed something different than what I was doing and kind of realized that I need something a little bit more creative, perhaps. Um, but it just wasn't I wasn't passionate about it anymore. I had no clear vision for the future in the business. And I just sort of didn't know why I was doing it anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm still unsure of what my next steps are going to be, but I feel very blessed to have a little bit of time to figure that out. I don't have to go right out and get the next thing I can find. I have a little bit of time to process that, to take care of all the loose ends of the business, and to just kind of, I don't know, dream, I guess, is maybe the best way to say it, to kind of envision what the future is going to look like. So this was my decision, something that I enjoyed for a very long time. And, my clients were sad that this was ending. But even though it's a choice I made and something that I'm excited about, I kind of didn't anticipate that it was going to be as hard as it was last week. So, but yeah, so I closed my business.
Yeah. It's a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're both in this very like entirely different space than we were a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And it's weird. So I think that's part of
weird.
why, we've done we have done episodes about business. We have talked a lot about, just how to start business, how to keep things going, all these different things. And we still have that wisdom, like, even though you're closing yours and mine is looking very different now, but it's just going to be a new season. And so we're trying to embrace that but there's still grief involved. And it may sound weird, but there's still grief involved whenever you close a certain chapter of your life. So I hope that gives, if you're listening and you're like, you left a job, or you left, you closed a business, or you walked away from something that you didn't think should be that big of a deal, but you still felt that grief or sadness, like, it's okay. That's normal.
Yeah. So. And we're right there with you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. This next one, I think, I don't know. I hope it's not, but I feel like it might be a little bit hard for me to talk about, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'll let you start. We're going to talk about, I know you didn't have much choice. Sorry. We're going to talk about leadership roles. And how it looks different over the past year or so.
Well, I think for both of us, it's different and also hard. So, like I said, at the beginning of 2023, we ended our time at our church that we had been at for 20 plus years. I had been very involved in leading a lot of different things over the years, tons of small groups, various, involved on various levels in helping run retreats and be part of the leadership team. And Scott was on staff. So he was on staff for 17 years. So I am no longer a pastor's wife and I am no longer in church leadership. And that's a big shift for me. Like, we had it as part of our intro. And so as much as these roles don't define us, they do play a part in how we identify and how we talk to other people and how we introduce ourselves. And so, so I'm no longer in church leadership. And then with the shift in my business, I'm no longer leading in a business capacity, in the sense of, like, when I was running my Mentor Mind, I was essentially leading that group of women, supporting them, guiding them, and leading the retreats for the group. And and so I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm not really leading a team in my business anymore either. I had a few team members that, because of my shift and ending my programs, they moved on to new things, and I can't keep paying people when I don't have work to give them. So that was a different season. And so in my work at Ramsey, I'm not in any sort of official leadership. I don't have a leadership title. And so there, I do feel that I am able to lead just in the way that we have talked about leadership on this podcast, in the way of you lead by the way you interact with people, by the way you invest in people, by the way you, are aware of your own actions and how those things impact others, but I'm not leading in any official capacity at this time. So
Yeah.
it's that's my
Yeah.
changes, and I've had some time to process that, the first one.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I don't have any desire to be
Yeah.
in any sort of official leadership role.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's different.
Okay. Well, I have two things to say.
Okay.
Number one is I'm really sorry I threw you in the deep end. I was only thinking about myself, and you were
She's
really
like, this
brave.
won't be hard for Esther.
I know. It's true. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
The moment you opened your mouth, I was like, oh, that was selfish. And the second thing I want to say is that, and I need to say this to myself as well, but I know that we're talking about titles and roles and that sort of thing. And you're not, your title is not pastor's wife, and
Yeah.
Scott's title right now is not pastor, but I don't know. I just want to tell you that I think that being a pastor is who Scott is, and that's how he shepherds people. Like, he just is a person that shepherds people. And so he doesn't have the role necessarily, or maybe the title, but like, he embodies what a pastor is. So, and you embody what a pastor's wife is. So I don't know. I just really wanted to say that to you.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm going to try not to cry on this
I
podcast.
know.
So
Okay.
you
Moving
better
right along.
You better start talking about yourself.
Moving right along. Okay. Basically, that was, I'm sorry and I love you. Okay. Okay, Holly, I literally wrote big fat 0 leadership roles on the notes. I have none. Yeah,
I
and
can
as
vouch
think
for that. It's all caps on the notes.
I even wrote haha at the end. Yeah, but as I'm thinking about it, honestly, like, I'm trying to think, like, it's been a while since I've had leadership roles. I mean,
You
it
did have
feels
one in
like,
Tampa.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we've been here,
Yeah.
really the place where I felt like I had a place of leadership was within my business.
Mhm.
And so I think that kind of like caps off the end of like,
Yeah.
okay, all your leadership roles are gone.
Mhm.
So although lots of them I haven't had all the other titles or roles that I've had in the past, and it's been a while since that has happened. I think that the ending of the business and leadership that I took in the business, like I said, just kind of puts the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, but
yeah.
I'm trying to take ownership of the leadership that I naturally have. So in my family, leadership within this podcast, and leadership amongst my friends. And that sounds weird to say it that way, but in the same way that you lead others at work, we can be leaders amongst our friends because it's about who we have influence over. So I'm trying to take ownership of that, and I'm trying to remind myself of that, because these are things that I believe to my core. I mean, I would not have said time and time again on this podcast for 5 years that you don't have to have a title or a role to be a leader. I would not have said that if I didn't believe it. But I'm learning it at a whole new level.
Yeah.
That I hadn't experienced it in the past.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it definitely makes it different when you're like, oh, this is what it feels like.
Right.
To not have anything that you can say, I'm leading XYZ.
Right.
Yeah, it forces us to actually figure out if that is what we truly believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think for women who feel similar to us in that leadership feels very innate, like it's a natural gift. That's probably why it feels so difficult or weird or hard. If you were thrust into leadership and you didn't want it in the first place, you know, when those things get stripped away, you might like feel a sigh of relief. And I do to some extent, but at the same time, like I enjoy it. I love leading. But I've been going back to this idea as often as I can remember it. I don't know if you ever did the study Experiencing God, but one of the things that they talk about in that study is to look for where God is working and join him there. And so I've been trying to, when I can have a good attitude about it and when I can remember to remind myself of this, I'm trying to ask myself, where is God working around me in this area? And it's difficult when we don't really know that many people.
Yeah.
I mean, it still feels like a year and a half later, we're still not 100% sure of where we fit, but I'm hoping that we can at least look around and say, okay, God's working here and I can join him there.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about leadership. I'm just talking about volunteering or just, you know,
being part of a vision.
Yeah, being part of a vision. And it's refreshing to your soul to see God actively working when you feel like you're in a period of him, what may feel like him taking things away or life just stripping away from you. Like it's really hard to remember those things. So those are hard-worn sentences when I tell you I'm trying to remember, because I'm much more likely to think of the negative or to look at what's not happening rather than what I should be. So that's where the rubber meets the road right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the depths of my soul.
I can't remember for sure, but I feel like our plan is sometime in the future to talk about to revisit a topic that we did way back in the beginning around why your leadership matters.
Like the beginning. Like episode 2 or something.
Beginning of the podcast. And part of that is going to be talking about this topic in more in different ways, but really about the idea of like that roles and titles are not what is making a leader.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think we both believe that to our core. So we'll get to unpack that a lot more when we talk about it. So,
yeah.
Okay, that ends our what logistic conversation.
That's our update portion of the episode.
Okay.
And if we had a sponsor, this is where we might put our sponsorship.
Yeah.
But currently, a sponsor is us. So if you want to sponsor us, please reach out. Because we do need to figure out how we're paying for this podcast.
We do.
Yeah.
That's probably, put that on the list of things we should talk about.
Right. But we want to do some reflection and talk about a few questions. And these questions we pulled directly from the Reflection and Processing Guide that we shared in our mini-series. And I'll put the link for that in the show notes for anyone who is like, oh, those are some really good questions. Well, yes, they are. And they're in our guide.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick it off asking the first question.
Okay, go ahead.
How are your circumstances different at the end of 2023 than you anticipated they would be back when you set goals and planned for the year?
So if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, my answer is not going to be surprising to you. That I had a really hard time planning for the year due to a situation that we had in January of 2023, and just had a really hard time with life at that moment. So I was not really caring about goals. I was just caring about getting through the day without crying. And so which
I'm
I
sorry, I
didn't.
shouldn't laugh.
No, we've had this conversation lots of times. Sometimes you just have to laugh.
Because what's funny about it is like my entire November and December was that. And then like just when I started to sort of be able to stop crying, like
Yeah.
Holly had, and that's why we're laughing.
Well,
Anyway,
if
it
I
wasn't funny
remember
at the time.
correctly, no, it wasn't. If I remember correctly, as far as dates go, we had about 1 to 2 days of a
Yeah.
breather,
Of
and
like,
then my
things
life
are gonna be
exploded.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm looking at the goals that I set last
Yeah.
year, there were 0, so it's hard to compare.
Okay.
But one thing that I will say is that last year, at the beginning of the year, I really had no fresh vision for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struggling with it because I didn't understand why. And so now, a year later, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now that I've processed through all of that and like made hard decisions, and subsequently shut down the business. But that was difficult for me because in business, I've always known, okay, this is the next course I want to take. This is the next thing I want to do. Like I generally have like a list, like
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 things in order. Okay, I'm going to get this certification and then I'm going to do this and then da 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 da. And I didn't have any of that. Like there was no passion, there was no ambition, there was no drive behind any of those things. And it was really frustrating because anything that I was like, okay, I'm gonna like, I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a newsletter or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything that I kind of put towards that, and I even paid a copywriter to help me with this newsletter. Just had nothing. It felt like, when that feeling of like when there's no wind in your sails.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't understand that. And so I know that that's not a direct answer maybe to the question, but it is interesting to look back on that and to kind of realize why I was feeling that way and kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to the business and business goals. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
Okay. So when I set goals in 2023, I did have like a brief window of time when I was actually very excited about my business and just like some of the things I wanted to pursue in 2023, even though I was definitely still in a very um difficult emotional place. I did do my night away in a
Yeah.
hotel and just a great reflection time and goal setting time by myself, which was wonderful. And then that lasted for about 2 weeks. The ambition and the ideas of what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And then I found out about this potential of this job. And like
Yeah.
when that happened, all of the things that I had for ideas to pursue with my business became really hard to figure out if I should even start pursuing any of them or not. Because I was like,
Yeah.
if I do get the job, then this stuff that I'm thinking I might do in my business is not going to work. I'm not going to have the capacity to do it. So, uh, at the beginning of the year, when I set my goals, I had no idea that we would be in Tennessee and that I would be working full
Yeah.
time. So the circumstances are very different. Um, we sold our home, we packed up all our things. Like so many things are different from the beginning of the year. I knew that 2023 was going to be a year of transition,
Mm.
but I didn't know to what extent.
Yeah.
So definitely looking back, I did not hit like I don't think I hit any goals that I had for the year that I
Yeah.
had at that moment at the beginning of the year where I thought, okay, I'm going to try to pursue these things and I'm still going to be working on XYZ projects that have been long-term things. Just none of it happened.
And that's weird for you.
Yeah.
You're very good at hitting goals and having singular focus. And like,
Yeah.
so even that is hard to process. Just the
Yeah.
fact that Most of the other years you've hit, I mean, I don't know because I'm not in
Yeah.
your goal setting, but I know you and
Yeah.
and I know you go for what you want and you are really good at hitting your goals. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It was
and
definitely a hard year for it. It was a lot of just giving myself grace and also
mm,
recognizing, you know what? Nothing else really matters. Like
yeah,
it had to become me and my family being healthy and
yeah,
healing had to become the only thing that I cared about
yeah.
outside of, us eating. um
Right.
and so yeah. So like it as much as I hate not hitting goals, I didn't really care about the
Yeah.
goals during that year. Like I can't even tell you really what the goals were for 2023. I don't
hmm
remember them because my normal like staying focused and looking at them quarterly and like
Yeah.
assessing, like none of that happened throughout
Right.
the year. So,
Well, there was a while that you were sort of holding, as you mentioned, like holding them both in tandem, like, hey, I've got
mhm,
this opportunity that I'm like potentially going after, but I've got all these goals, and these like almost fly in the face
mhm.
of one another. They
Yeah.
contradict. So,
Yeah.
like, how do I go forward in both?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
it's
like you
crazy.
said, I thought for a while I thought I could do at least a few of the goals at the same time, like keep my program going and working full time. And technically I could,
Yeah.
but emotionally and mentally,
Yeah.
I couldn't.
I don't
So,
know how you did it, friend.
yeah.
You never cease to amaze me. So, okay. Ready for the next question?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. What's something good that has come as a result of the different circumstances this year?
Okay. You want me to do this one?
You
And
tell
then
me,
you?
since
Okay.
I bullied you into it.
I'll do it. And I didn't write down the answer,
Okay.
but I do have an answer.
Okay.
But when I did my reflection, I skipped over this question the first time, just to be honest.
That's
I was
okay.
like,
There was a question later on that I skipped.
yeah. But I have two things. One, something good that came that was unexpected is um in my work at Ramsey, I am able to see some and experience really amazing leaders around me. Um the culture and the leadership in the company is amazing. And
Yeah.
so I get to sit and listen to some of the most incredible leaders share uh wisdom and insights, and then even the leaders that I report directly to are people that I can look up to and say, wow, like at some point I want to be like them. And that has been really cool. Um, and I'll probably share more about one of the leadership lessons I've learned since working at Ramsey, but I'll save that for another time. Uh, but the other thing that I think is good, while it is also hard, is being forced into a different situation, a different culture, a different context,
Mm,
um, has, it just opens your eyes to a lot of things and gives you new opportunities, gives you new perspective, gives you new relationships. And that's still in process, I would say. I don't feel like I'm like, this is amazing. Everything about
yeah.
where I am now is amazing. That's not where I'm at. But I do think that sometimes when you're in a particular context for so long, for so many years,
Yeah.
it's easy to not realize what else is out there. And
Mm,
now we're in the out there
yeah.
phase,
Yeah.
and so I'm trying to see that as a positive. And there are some positives that I feel in that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I've really sat. I mean, I have been very happy as far as like the culture that you're in, like when I think about you in this
Mm,
position and
hmm
stuff like that. But like I don't know that I really stopped to ponder like what what great um like outside people, like even
mm,
you have um outside people coming in to speak
yeah.
to the staff.
Yeah.
And even within the culture, like your boss is not called your boss, they're called your
Right.
leader. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and that is something that's really a holistic culture,
Yeah.
right? Even down to the language. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
It makes me happy
What
for you.
about what about you? Something good that has come.
Well, my good thing is that Esther moved closer to me.
Woo!
Yay! We are 2 hours
Yeah.
apart, and that is a little bit of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
However, I'll take 2 hours over 21 hours every day of the week.
Mhm. And I
And
think if we lived like if we lived like an hour apart or half an hour,
yes,
we wouldn't get anything done,
no,
Holly. We would just go to each other's houses or meet up
yeah,
for coffee and we would just not get things
we
done.
wouldn't get anything done. I will say one thing that was kind of cool, and I don't even think I've told you this yet, Esther, but we were talking with Eli about his birthday, which will be here in a couple weeks. And we said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" He said, "Well, I want to have a friend party and I want to have a family party." And so, or like a family thing. And
Hmm
so we're like, "Okay, tell us about your friend party, what do you want to do? And then what do you want to do for family party? Because it's just the three of us." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, like, I mean, I don't know. Count the dog, I guess." And he was like, "No, like family, like Scott and Esther and Kirsten. Like we need to go see
Oh,
them and have them be part of the, like they're the family party." And I
oh
was
my
like,
word.
"Oh, like,
That's the sweetest thing.
yes."
Oh.
And he was just like, "What are you thinking, Mom? Like, you know this." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right."
I mean, that's what we did for your birthday. So,
Yes. So when we're done talking about this, we're going to talk about
okay.
when we're going to see each other for Eli's birthday. But um okay, and then my other good thing is just the feeling of freedom of the responsibility of the business is kind of off my shoulders now, and that feels really good. Um I always had this lingering thing in the back of my head, like, what mistake have I made that is going to ruin someone's business? You know what I mean? Like, so that thought isn't in my mind. And I am good at dreaming. So this is nice to have um, sort of the guardrails thrown off and given the ability to dream. So that is a good thing that has come out of sort of closing the business and having everything
Mm,
look a lot different. So,
yeah.
okay, the next question is the question that I skipped
Oh, okay.
when we first went through it. Do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it?
The
Doesn't matter.
what the lessons one?
Yeah,
What lessons did you learn in the past year?
I did not like that question.
You didn't want to think about lessons?
No, I did
No.
not. And I had to get past a few negative
Mhm.
questions before I was able to get to the positive, or
Okay.
a few negative
Lessons.
lessons
Okay.
before I was
Yeah.
able to get to the positive. But I got there
hmm Okay.
and feeling appreciative. So,
Good.
do you want me to say mine first?
Yeah. Let's start with
Okay.
you.
Okay. So my life lesson from this past year is that life changes quickly,
It's
which
profound.
obviously I knew. I know, right? Super deep. But I think like what you had said, like when you have been doing the same thing or kind of in the same life for a certain amount of time, you get kind of stuck in a rut and you
Yeah.
forget how quickly life changes and how different your circumstances can be sometimes in a matter of moments.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's refreshing to remember because it changes how we make decisions sometimes when we
Mm,
realize life changes quickly. I don't have forever. I need to be sort of appreciating where where I was and where I need to go, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, um, and I pretty much just said the next one, but learning to appreciate each stage. I'm very much the type of person that just wants to like grin and bear it and just get through it. Or if I think, well, I can get through, the whole saying, like, I can do anything for about a minute, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm just like, okay, well, I can grin and bear it through this part. But I don't want to live an entire life where all I've done is grin and bear it. So trying to learn to appreciate each stage, even the hard ones, which oftentimes the appreciation doesn't come until afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I will grow as a person, grow spiritually enough that I can appreciate the stage while I'm in it.
Right.
But yeah.
Uh,
So that's the second lesson. And then the last lesson is just thankfulness for true friends.
mm,
And how they just really love you when sometimes the people that you feel like should love you show
mm,
it in weird ways. Then you have your true friends sort of come alongside you and give you the things that you didn't know you needed.
mm,
So just, yeah, those were the ones I came
mm.
up with.
Okay. Good.
I may have learned other ones, but
Some lessons we keep to ourselves and some lessons we
yes.
share on the
Yes.
podcast.
Okay. What are the ones you are going to share on this
Okay.
podcast?
I was just looking at my list thinking, I don't know if I should share all of these bullet points on the podcast.
Well, you said something like you had like 14 lessons or something like that.
I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. It wasn't 14. It was 11.
Okay. That's okay.
I'm not going to share all 11 lessons.
I can forgive it. No, probably best if you don't.
Okay.
Keep something for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. First lesson. Breathing is important.
I love it. That is both simple and profound.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like I think I have realized since the change of moving and all the things how long it felt like I was holding my breath. I don't know if that
Oh,
makes sense,
yeah,
but
that
like
makes total sense.
and
Yeah.
I've been doing exercise classes since I moved here and just they're always telling you to breathe. And it's like such a simple thing, but it's so important and then when you think about when you start to get angry, if you can recognize that and if you can breathe or if you are having anxiety and you're fearful and you can
Yeah.
take deep breaths, like there's so much and it's just I think it's very like I think God wired us this way on purpose, but like he breathed into Adam, and Adam
Yeah.
like it's there's power in our breath. And so yeah, breathing is important.
I
That's
like that
lesson
one
1.
a lot.
Okay. I'm looking at my other ones to make sure I share the right ones. Um okay. Another one is just because it's not happening right now doesn't mean it won't happen.
That's a good one.
Okay. And that's the lesson I learned because all the things that I wanted to happen weren't happening. I'm still working on this one, being okay with this one. Because, like we talked about, when I set a goal, I like to do the goal and I don't like thinking that, oh, it might happen someday, but it's not now. That's
Yeah.
really annoying. So,
Yes. Totally agree. 100%.
Okay. And then one more. I'm hoping this isn't too negative, but people often deal with your pain in ways that are not helpful.
Mm,
And so I think my lesson has been
yeah.
to recognize that and to just accept that and to not um not necessarily expect people to know how to deal with your pain.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
so
That's a really good one.
yeah. And
Um,
I'll say one
oh,
more.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to think of how to word it.
Okay.
I think the last thing I would say is to be willing to do the hard work of healing. The
Oh my
importance of
gosh, we're on the same wavelength. Go ahead.
yeah,
I'll tell you
like
my
the
thought
importance
when you're
of
done.
doing the hard work of healing.
Yeah.
Because like as I've been in therapy and as I'm making myself do things that move me towards healing, I realize how screwed up I am.
Oh
and
my gosh, I love you. We can be
and then
screwed up
I
together.
and then I realize like this is why we have people in leadership that are creating so much harm and so much
Mm,
damage to other people because they are not doing the hard work of healing themselves.
yeah, yep.
Because they are going through some really difficult stuff in their life. They're keeping it to themselves. They're not talking about it. They're not getting support. They're not getting help. They're not processing it. And then they're going out and living life and leading other people
Yeah.
like nothing happened. And they're not healthy from the inside.
Mm,
And so I am determined to not be that kind of leader and
mm,
to be the kind of leader who is going to deal with my own stuff.
yeah.
So, okay.
So as you were talking, right before you said this last one, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have one that I didn't write down that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks about last week or two. And it was just kind of the statement that in my mind was that healing is painful. And I know that that might be obvious. I don't know if it's obvious, but to me, it didn't feel obvious. I
It
feel
doesn't
like,
always feel obvious to
right,
realize
because
that.
you
Yeah.
think the thing that hurt you, whatever it was, that's the painful part. And that the healing either like time heals all wounds, like, blah,
Lie, big fat lie.
that's not true. Right. And so we maybe it's not obvious because we think that we take for granted the work that it
Hmm.
takes to heal. But
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I was just kind of trying to relate it to like our physical bodies in my mind as I
Well,
was kind of like
yeah.
processing it all and stuff like that. And it's true. Like when we've been, you have a surgery or you have a broken
You
bone or
think
whatever,
about
like,
somebody that gets burned, like
yeah, the healing
severe
process is really
burns,
painful.
the healing process and having to have bandages removed and that's, I haven't experienced that, but I can
Yeah.
only imagine that it is incredibly painful. But if you don't do that,
Mhm.
what's going to happen to your skin and your
Yeah.
body?
So for me, I'm very like, I isolate and I don't want to deal with it and whatever. And so it manifests in other ways. Um, and so sometimes just like, just the sentence alone was like I said, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was
Hmm.
like, I can't expect to be different or to handle things better or to grow as a person, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, whatever, physically,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I'm not willing to endure the pain of healing or endure the pain of growth in general.
Hmm.
So, I mean, exactly what you said. Like, you literally said it, and I was like, oh, yep, same page. It's
Ah,
painful. It's
yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
So, I'm still processing it, and hopefully, we'll continue to process it because
Yeah.
probably it's the revelation that I've needed in my mind and
Yeah.
heart and soul. But um maybe not to shy away from the pain of healing. Maybe that's the next thought in that
Yeah.
processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I literally said this week in therapy, there's times where if I don't think about something,
Mm.
then I don't feel sad and I don't
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
struggle and I'm like, oh, everything is fine. But not thinking about something is not the same as healing from something.
No.
That's just avoidance.
Yeah.
So,
Denial is what that word
yeah.
is. Yeah.
So you don't want to purposefully get yourself riled up about something, but you also don't want to avoid dealing with the something.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a
Yeah.
tension there, I think.
Yeah.
Because the other extreme is letting yourself just go into a deep, dark hole of
Yeah.
it's all about me and everything is about me and I'm just going to keep healing over here forever.
Right. Quote unquote healing. Yeah.
Wallowing, healing, same thing.
Ooh, wallowing. I love a good wallow. That's probably not the healthy thing to say, but I said it. Okay.
All right, we gotta keep going here.
We gotta keep it moving.
Because my voice is starting to die too.
Okay.
Okay. Are you gonna ask the next?
Sorry. Okay. Who has been a part of your support system this year?
Okay. Support system. For me, it would be my husband, Scott. He's my biggest support system and my daughter.
Yeah.
And then my group of very good friends, Holly being one of them, and a few others who are very important to me.
Yeah.
And my sister as well. I put her, my
Yeah.
sister and my brother-in-law have been very supportive as well. I'm seeing that your list includes some things that are not people. And
Hey,
now
it
I'm
was a
thinking you
support
cheated.
system.
You said who? The question is who?
I don't
And
care.
some of those are not a who.
I cheated.
Ah, because that would
We
change
can-
my answer.
So, okay, what
What
/who
slash who
has been a part of your
Okay.
support system?
Okay,
this
so
year?
those same things that I just said, but
Okay.
I would say going to bar classes,
Yeah.
walking,
Not to the bar.
not to the bar. This is a whole
BARRE.
joke at work.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I'm like, I go to bar. And they're like,
Yes.
after work, I go to bar.
And they're like, do you have a problem, Esther?
Yes. There's other things with that too, but I won't go there.
Yeah.
It's too complicated to explain on a podcast. Yeah, so being outside, like walking, exercise, and then definitely, like I've already mentioned it a few times, but going to therapy.
Yeah.
Those have been big parts of my support system for the year.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm glad that
Okay.
you got to say your what's.
well, yeah, I realized after the fact that you had cheated, so I had to cheat too.
I just took the question to the next level.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm leveling up.
Now, who is part of your support system / what is part of your support system?
Yeah. So definitely Zach. He
Mhm.
puts up with a lot.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
He does.
That's okay. I can admit it.
He puts up with me too.
Yeah. Yes, he does. Occasionally, though, to his benefit, I put myself in timeout.
Okay.
So he doesn't have to deal with me.
Okay.
I love adult timeouts, like my
Yeah.
favorite thing. Okay, so definitely friends. Esther being one of them, my friend
Mhm.
Melanie, my friend Jenny. I was seeing a counselor for a while. I absolutely need to get back to going to therapy. But it was good. I did reach out when I needed help, but I need to go back again. Medicine was a part of my support system this year, and I'm not at all ashamed to say that because I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't have made it. I'm just saying it would have been a lot uglier.
Mhm.
Perhaps
It was part
without
of,
some
I didn't
medicine.
list that one, but that was part
Yeah.
of mine too
Yeah.
for a big chunk of the year.
Yeah. And then my garden, which I talked about in the in previous episodes, but just having something else to take your mind off of things and new home and projects and stuff around the house. And we've been able to do different things around the yard that are improvements and just the kind of things that sort of make a house a home or make you put your stamp, I guess, on it.
Yeah.
And so that has been pretty therapeutic. I wouldn't say that like getting my hands in the dirt necessarily or getting dirty or sweaty or gross is like my thing. But for some reason, when it comes to the garden,
Yeah.
I've been willing and want to kind of blood, sweat, and tears. And sometimes it's all three.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Next question.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make sure I don't read it wrong this time or cheat. Okay, this is our last question as far as the reflection goes, but where might you need added accountability or support to reach your goals in the coming year?
Well, I don't like that question.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Well, like I said, I'm choosing to not set any goals that are specifically like I talked about in the goal setting episode. I talked about habit goals versus project goals, and I'm not really putting any project goals on my list because I don't know if I'm there yet. And so accountability or support, I would say, would just be the continued support that I've already been tapping into and that I don't kind of back away from that. I think most of my goals are around I don't know if I told you this. I didn't. I might have talked about it in the goal setting episode, but I ended up choosing 4 words that are kind of like my vision for the year.
Oh,
Like
no,
you
we
talked
haven't
about
talked about
dreaming and
this.
vision.
Yeah.
And so I chose 4 words that are my vision of what I want to have happen in 2024.
Love that.
And then all of my goals are things that point to those 4 words.
It's really
Like
smart.
everything relates to,
Yeah.
So that's how I did my goals this year. Very different from in the past. So
that feels really refreshing for me to hear. I know that sounds weird because they're your goals, but
well, yeah. And I can tell you more about that.
Yeah.
But basically most of the actual like goals or habits are things that I already have been doing, but I'm just wanting to be like not stop doing them.
Hey, agreed.
So
that's sometimes,
basically that is, so I don't know how to answer that question because I don't really know if I need added accountability or support. It's more like I just need to not move away from the current support and accountability that I'm already using.
I think that's okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I think that's,
yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I feel like I shouldn't even have goals because I have no idea what's going on. So there's that. But as I think about that, I think that I need to give myself a structure to figuring out what is going on. So in other words, like, take this, like set aside this time to dream or explore this avenue of an idea or, like try some stuff on, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what that even looks like, but it sounds weird. It's like making a meeting to make a meeting. That's what this feels like. But
yeah.
But I need to have a goal to have goals.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But so I didn't actually make specific ones. So to talk about accountability and support is hard, but I will tell you the 2 things that I know I need to do this year. And one is to get back into therapy. And you have been a good support I have not done the accountability part of it where I've done what you told me to do yet.
Well, and I haven't done a great job at following
No,
up with
no.
you.
Well,
So this is a good reminder.
we didn't set it up like that.
We
You
didn't
just,
formally create
no.
an accountability
But you
plan.
did say, do
Yeah.
this. And I
Yeah.
didn't do this.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
true.
It's I try to
New
listen
year.
to you. Yeah.
New year, new you.
Yeah. No. Blah. Okay, but I did make one goal that I am working on. I want to read
Okay.
100 books this year,
Wow.
and I've already read 8 in January,
That's amazing.
which when I look back at last year, I may have only read 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
not true, but probably pretty close to it.
Mhm.
And I used to not ever read, I always get this wrong. Fiction, nonfiction, stories, things that aren't true.
Fiction is
Fiction. I
not
always get that
fiction
wrong.
is not true, which
Okay.
makes no sense when you look
I
at the
know.
words.
I always read like spiritual or self-help or business books, and like for the past 5 years, as far as business and the podcast goes and leadership, like I've just been like sort of devouring those type of books, those type of podcasts. And so every single book that I've read this year has been fiction, and it's been really nice.
That's awesome.
Really, really nice. And it's probably a little bit of escapism, and that's okay. I'm giving that to myself.
Mhm.
And I also sort of let go of the word read, which sounds really stupid, but what I mean by that is if I listen to it as an audible,
Yeah.
I'm counting that as if I read the book.
100%.
And I think I need that for just how my brain works. In fact, I'm on the last book of a series right now, and probably 60% of it I've listened to, and about 40% of it I've read. But this feels like a really good goal to me, and I'm really excited about it. And I have a little app that has statistics. So like at the end of the month, I looked at like how many pages I read and like all those things. And I like numbers. So
There we
that
go.
made me happy. So so as far as the accountability and support for me, as far as the books go, it's just that little app. But
Yeah.
So yeah. I
Cool.
know that was a weird way to answer that question, but I don't care.
It's all good.
That's what I did.
There's no wrong answers.
Oh, good. Because when I had my answer for the last question, you told me that was wrong. So I'm glad this one we're allowed to be
It
wrong
wasn't
at.
a wrong answer. It was just an answer that didn't fully align with the way the question was worded.
Okay.
Oh
Do you
my
want to say
word.
something eloquent about our reflections now? Because that's usually what you do.
Oh, okay. Well, I will say something eloquent, but first I'm going to say I have no idea how long this episode is.
No, I know.
It could be a hot mess. So anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's our reflections. We hope you enjoyed this. I think we had some really good conversations in there.
Yeah.
And I hope this encourages you to just take the time to do some of this reflection. And I'll be honest, when I came across this reflection guide, we had developed it in 2020 or at the beginning of 2021 when we were all thinking about the past year of 2020 being like, what on earth just happened to our lives? Right. And so some of the questions really came out of that, but I think they're really good for any time, any year. Particularly for me this year, some of the questions that we have in the guide were hard to reflect on and think about, but it was helpful to do it and to take that time. So again, we'll put the link in the show notes if you want to grab that guide for free and get those questions. Even though it's like February, who cares what time of year it is? You can reflect on things anytime.
Yep.
So,
and you can make goals anytime.
That's right. Yes. It's not limited to January or December. So,
right.
All right. We have one final fun question.
Fun question. Woo woo.
They can't see me doing a dance, but I'm doing a dance.
There was a slightly small awkward silence that no one saw your dancing, but you guys need to know it was good. It was a good dance.
Oh gosh. I am tired.
Okay. It's all right. All right. You want to read the question?
Okay.
Okay.
What is your most recent purchase that you are happy about?
Okay. This took me a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe it didn't take me a full minute, but I literally said to Esther, well, I did grocery shopping and that makes me happy.
That is not what we're looking for here.
That the grocery shopping is done and put away makes me happy, but that's not, yeah. No, so since I started reading more, I've been buying a lot of books. It's probably not good. I probably need to rein it in. But I have bought a lot of books. I got a new bookshelf for Christmas that I asked for. And I have almost filled it up. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your purchase that you're happy about is the books.
The books.
Oops. Okay.
Yes. The
Okay,
bookshelf was a gift.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I'm very happy about my books. And I probably should go on a mini book buying ban.
Yeah.
Ban, not banned. Ban, as in stop.
You should be banned from buying books. Oh no, they're banning books.
Yeah.
No, we're not banning books. We're just banning Holly from buying more books.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
funny.
what about you?
Okay.
I think I know your answer, but I'm excited to hear what you're going to say.
Well, I did buy some stuff at work today, but I'm not going to count those things.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that I am very happy about is our new dining room table.
Yes.
So we bought a table.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, it was a whole thing. It took us forever to figure out what kind of table we wanted. And, my husband and I agreeing on furniture is like very monumental. And
it is.
Yeah.
Good job.
So yeah, we got a new table and it fits in the space. It looks nice and we're hoping it's going to hold up and we got a great deal on it. So we're very happy.
Good. I'm glad you didn't get scammed.
Yeah, I was a little worried when we first ordered.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope this isn't one of those places where you pay a lot of money and then you never get the thing.
I'm actually really relieved that you got your table.
Yeah. All of the furniture got delivered and it's great.
That's so good. I can't wait to see it.
I know.
Because last time I was at your house, you didn't have a lot of it.
There was a lot of furniture that we did not have. Yes.
It's nice.
Furniture companies are liking us right now.
Yeah. It's nice to make a house a home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that like nesting time.
Yes. We also got a guest room bed. So I'm very happy about that too.
That's my room.
That's going to be your room. It's going to be anyone else who comes to visit. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I should put my picture on the door and say like, don't mess up my room.
You can help me decide on what artwork to put up in the room because
in my room. I'm
having arguments with Scott about that. So
see, I can't override Scott, but I can
issues about artwork and walls.
Kindly tell him he's wrong.
Okay. But last time you took his side.
I'm not sure if I trust you anymore. Sorry. I feel like Zach took your side though, didn't he?
Yeah. Zach is more on my side.
I know. That almost never happens. I'm glad our friendship withstood that trial.
Yes. Yeah. We'll see what trials come, but I'm pretty sure it's going to withstand it.
That sounded like we'll see what happens next. You're not really sure.
We'll see if it withstands the guest room discussion.
I know that's treacherous waters right there.
Oh, goodness. All right, friends. Well, thank you for being here for this episode. We have really enjoyed sharing with you this update. And I'm not sure what the title is going to be for this one. I might use something from our conversation and just have a intriguing title. So we'll see.
Yeah, I like
but
that.
If you're listening, you already know what the title is because it's on the episode. So thank you for being here. Be sure you have clicked the follow button. Stick around, come back for our next episode, and go back and listen to the 200 plus episodes in the past if you've missed them. Thanks for joining us on the Christian Women Leadership Podcast. Do you want to become a more confident leader? Then make sure to grab the Confident Leader Manifesto. This is a resource that Holly and I developed just for you, and I share all about it in episode 6, Leading with Confidence. You can get the manifesto for yourself at estherlittlefield.com/confidence. confident. And that's confident with a T. Now, don't forget, your leadership matters, and it's time for you to embrace your gifts and lead with confidence.
Mind your business. You're distracting me.
I just want to keep that in.